One thing I'm realizing, at least in the modern era, is that having good taste is somewhat of an act of resistance. What do I mean by that? So back in the day, culture was dictated to us through the monoculture, legacy media, big companies, advertisements, all of that would just tell us what to like. But the thing is, all of that was also made by artists. So for the most part, only quality things kind of got fed to the people. There was slop, obviously. There were like B movies and C movies and direct to DVD, which it was like the way to say slop back then. It went straight to VHS. And now slop is just everywhere. And quality, you have to really dig to find it. And it's like it's been flipped, because back then quality was in your face, because there were very select movie reviewers. We had Roger Ebert, who is probably like the greatest movie reviewer of all time. And he would tell you like what was good and what was bad. Like you didn't have to go along with what he said, but at least he would point you in the right direction. Now, like there's so many reviewers on YouTube that some of them are very good at what they do. Some of them are just straight up like snobs, and I'm not going to point fingers. And there's a lot of people who just like nitpick and don't look at the substance of the actual art that's being put in front of them. They're only looking at like technical details. So it's like expertise has been somewhat commodified in the modern era. And you double that with the slop that's everywhere. What does this do to society? No one knows what's good anymore, because we also had another thing going against us, which was let people enjoy things. Why did we ever say this? Let people enjoy things is a terrible thing to do, because it just like it's bad for society. And why do I say that? Well, like, why am I taking this so seriously? It's not that deep, bro, right? But it is, because art is, I don't want to say it's everything, but it's so pervasive. It's like within everything. Art is expression, first and foremost, okay? And the way you express is by having the vocabulary to be able to express what you feel inside, your thoughts, your ideas. And if you don't have the vocabulary, and let me say like where you get the vocabulary from. You get it from taking in like good art. So good art, you take that in, it's like an input, and what you output is good art, depending on the quality of what you take in. Well, not so much, okay? Because this is where taste comes in. You develop taste by just taking in all kinds of art. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad. Just take in as much as you can. And what happens is that over time, you start seeing what you like. You start noticing, I like this kind of art. I like these kind of colors. I like movies that make me feel this way. Personally, I really like action movies. I really like philosophical movies. I like movies that are nostalgic. So that like that kind of stuff resonates with me. And when you like something, you try to find more of it. And you develop like a taste for it. It becomes very, you can tell when something's being genuine in its expression, and when an artist is just like following a trend per se. So why is this important? Why is it so important to have good taste in the modern era? It's because of AI. Taste is discernment, okay? And you can say like those two things are interchangeable, but taste is more subjective. Discernment is more objective. So like, what do I mean? When you have discernment, you can discern when something is false in its intentions, and when like you can just tell. You can like it's like how some people can tell when something is AI and other people can't. You develop that over time by looking at a lot of AI videos. Like I have seen a lot of AI videos just like against my will, just from being on social media, because they're everywhere. But like normal people, it really seems like normies. I don't know why, like AI just, it gets through their, it just gets through their defenses. It's kind of like when people wear those like clothes that security cameras can't see or whatever. That's AI to a normie. And normies do not have taste. Why do they not have taste? Because they are so hooked on mainstream shit. What is the most mainstream thing that you can think of? Top 40 music, okay? Like, and that has actually been replaced by, because like young people don't listen to the radio. They listen to whatever's trending on TikTok and whatever is found on like Spotify, like whatever Spotify is pushing through their playlists and their algorithms and stuff. That's like what normies listen to. And Disney has fell off. At one point they were very well respected. I'd say they peaked in the 90s. You could make an argument that they were they were peak in like the 30s and 40s, which is fair. But I think they culturally peaked in the 90s. I think like that's the height of their quality. Because recently, everything that has come out since like the mid 2000s has not been good from Disney. Like they in the 2000s, they at least had Pixar, right? But now Disney has become more like a giant amoeba that's like swallowing every other entertainment property, and they want to control all the big entertainment properties in America. They're definitely like some kind of cultural force that I don't know if they're trying to push an agenda or what. Like, I know they try to promote certain values through their movies, and that has kind of given people the wrong idea about, let's say, romance. And I'll probably go more into this about in like the future, but basically the gist of it is the story that Disney promotes through its movies is like very romantic, very high fantasy, and it is like, you could say it's like the opposite of real life. But a lot of people grow up thinking with this romantic template in mind, and when you try to take that into the dating world, it like, you look like a fool. It makes you look bad, and then you feel like you are wronged. But it's like, that's not how biology works. I'm just gonna say that for now, that Disney promotes these weird cultural values that don't align with reality. And because of that, DreamWorks rose up in the 2000s, and they had, or the late 90s, I should say, and they had an alternate view of things, like starting with Shrek. And if you watch Shrek, it's so like honest, it's so real, and it's like, it's not super raunchy, but it is a little edgy. And for the time, like that, it fit right in to the cultural like zeitgeist of the 2000s of like, everything's very edgy, everything's very extreme. It's about sports. In the modern era, I would say that we don't have a zeitgeist. Like, the zeitgeist right now is like turmoil. Like, everyone is like, things suck. Everything sucks. Like, politics suck. Movies suck. Streaming sucks. So, like, a lot of people are under the assumption that there's nothing good being made anymore. And that's not true. It's not true. And people with taste know that. And this is why you should develop taste. Because once you start to develop taste, you find other people who have good taste. Maybe not the same stuff as what like you like specifically. Or maybe they like things in a certain orbit that's close to what you like. And through this like weird network of like, let me give you an example. If I like 80s new wave, and I want something a little less mainstream but still in the same like area, I will listen to like jangle pop. And what is that? If you've ever heard the Smiths, that's what jangle pop is. And they're like, that's a whole genre that is not played on the radio. It's very indie, but they didn't call it indie back then. They called it something else. They called it like Big Umbrella or something like that. And it's alternative. Alternative culture is like, where alternative culture is more honest, I would say, to real life, because it's very rough around the edges. It's not sanitized like mainstream culture. And weirdly enough, alternative culture became so big in the 90s that in the early 2000s, it became commodified, going back to like, everything was edgy back then, but not really. Everything was edgy, but also corporate. Like, Hot Topic was a cultural phenomenon for a lot of kids. And it was just because that's what was cool at the time. And now, like, everything's just so surface level. Like the alternative has come back in a big way, but it's just surface level. I would also say that just because they look good on the surface doesn't mean like it cannot have substance. And I used to have this opinion that like people who cared about not art, but like fashion particularly, I used to think that they were very, how would you say it? Vain. I used to think like being into fashion was a vain idea. But now as I get older, you realize that through things like fast fashion and just the way the fashion industry has the trajectory it's taken, you realize that fashion is an art. And there is like, you can think of fast fashion like Temu and Shein. Those are like AI almost. And I'm sure they use AI to like design their clothes and shit. Okay, it's very assembly line. It's very committee based. It's like a robot made it. A robot made these clothes. But in the streetwear realm, there are designers who actually care about the garments that they are making. They care about the materials that they're using, like the fabrics and stuff. That is something that you don't get from Temu, you don't get from Shein, because everything there is made out of plastic. All the fibers are plastic. They do their best to try to give it form, but like when you look at, let's say, a pair of jeans, if you look at a pair of jeans from Temu and you look at a pair of jeans from like an actual like streetwear like brand, the pair of jeans I've noticed from Temu are like, they're made out of like, they drape like curtains. Okay, they have no structure to them. They like, you look like you can grab them and you can like crumple them. But actual jean material, like good denim, is stiff. Okay, so it kind of has like a nice silhouette when you're wearing them. Okay, and this is the kind of things that like you noticed after a while, because fashion is art. Fashion is wearable art. It's art that you put on your body and it says something about you. Okay, and if you're wearing Temu, what does that say about you? Like, I don't give a shit about detail. I only care about like the passing impression that I give to people. And like, if you look any deeper into me, I have nothing to like offer. And not necessarily, okay? I understand that a lot of people buy like Temu and Shein because they're like broke, okay? That's okay. I'm broke too, but I also like collect fashion pieces here and there, okay? It doesn't have to be like, oh, only rich people can afford fashion, you know? Like, it doesn't have to be that way. You can like once in a while get like a nice pair of pants and get like, I'm not saying you should do this, because this is actually bad financial advice. If you are in the position to do this and you have extra money, but you can't buy the whole pant, you can pay in installments with like Klarna or Affirm or the whatever shop .co or whatever that shit is. You can pay in installments. Okay, I'm not saying you should, because maybe you shouldn't. Like, I'm leaning more on like the you shouldn't side, but that's what I do. That's why I'm saying like that's why I'm recommending it. Not recommending it. I'm saying it's an option. I'll just say that. But I think these things are worth it. That's why I am so okay like spending money on that. Okay, because it's something I care about. And these clothes are going to last a lot longer than something you buy off of Temu that like fucking falls apart in the dryer. There are certain fabrics that get even better like with washing, okay? Like there are some that they develop character with wear and tear. That's why a lot of fashion right now, like if you follow fashion, a lot of it is about like tears and uneven dyes and degradation and holes. Like it's character, it's real. It expresses like this is the opposite of the shiny, thin, shitty things that everyone else is wearing. Okay, and like a lot of this can come off as snobbery, and it like I just want to address that it's not. It's not snobbery, because like this is all art related. And what is art? What is art? Art is culture. Art is the most human thing you could do is make art, in my opinion. I mean, maybe it's like eating and shitting, okay? But like, no, it's not, because every other creature does that. No other creature makes art. There are creatures that have been trained. Like I'm sure they've taught monkeys how to finger paint and stuff and like dolphins, but they're not making art. They're just like following commands. A human can make art. A human can express itself through communication, nonverbal communication. Okay, and like what are we doing? Why do we express ourselves? Why do we like art? Because we have something to say about not just ourselves, but also the things we like. And like I don't want to get into a whole nother topic, but art is veneration to like at a certain extent. There's a reason why art is so tied to, like, for example, Catholicism. There's a lot of art that is like Catholicism and like art, especially Renaissance art, are like so intertwined. And there are other religions like that too, especially in India. Okay, I don't want, like, Hindu probably. You know, I just don't know enough about that culture to tell you more about it. But even like if you're an atheist or whatever, you don't believe in anything, which is like, I'm sure you have morals. Okay, I'm not going to say like you're a bad person if you don't believe in spirituality and you don't have any spiritual beliefs. I think that's like the default. Like, I don't fuck with the religion I was raised up in. I'm just going to be an atheist. Like, I think that's the default. And like even those people that like they have art that speaks on a deeper level, you know, they have books, they have video games, you know. And what happens to a society when you take away quality art? People cannot express themselves properly. People cannot, they don't feel heard. They feel like alone, you know, and you're seeing a lot of that in our society today. And I hate that. I really hate that, like, they're like shitty art has eclipsed good art and you have to go digging for it. And that's why having good taste is an act of resistance, because right now things are so fucked up that like enjoying art is so antithetical to the mainstream. All right. I will say that AI is a tool that can be useful and I do use it, but it is not something to make art with. Okay, it is not something, like a lot of people are saying they try to use AI as like a stand-in for their own creativity. So they will type in a prompt for the AI and the AI will make the art. But it's not like it's not the same as you picking up a fucking pen and putting the pencil to paper, putting the pen to paper, painting on a canvas. You know, they're like, AI cannot do that. And you can see that it cannot do that. Everything looks so shiny. Everything looks so glossy and it looks ugly. It looks like vomit. Like, it looks disgusting. If a computer could vomit, it would look like AI. Okay, this is like excrement. It's not art. It's the opposite. But this is what people are being fed. So like normies are getting dumber, sadly. And if you're, I don't want to say a schizo, but just if you're more cultured, if you're more in tune, if you're more aware, you have a definite leg up in this society, because very soon in the future, there is going to be a need for people who can discern. They can discern from AI. They can discern from human made. They can tell you what's quality. And like, it's going to be more than being just a movie reviewer. It's going to be more than reviewing music. It's going to be like being a whole cultural tastemaker. Okay, like you, like I have noticed, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but like there is if you ever had economics class, there was a movement, an industrial movement in the medieval times, maybe from like medieval to like Renaissance era. I don't know when exactly this happened. I'm not like a big historian on these types of things, but it was called cottage industry. Okay, there was cottage industry, and this meant that within villages and towns, people had there would be one person who would make all the clothes for everyone. There would be one person who would make all the ceramics. You know, they would make plates. There was one person who would do the metallurgy, or like the metalworking, okay? There was one person who would make jewelry, and there was a person who was an architect. So these were the functions that artists served back then. Okay. But then the Industrial Revolution happened, and guess what happened? All the cottage industries overnight kind of disappeared. And I'm not gonna say that it was a terrible thing that happened. It was just a change. So what was the change? Now with the Industrial Revolution, people, like, one factory could serve a whole region. It wasn't just a town. It would serve a region. And as time went on, these factories would multiply. And soon enough, there would be like one company just serving the country. And we still have that today. But what I've noticed is that there was a need for non-industrial goods. And that's where like things like Etsy comes in. Okay, now like the Etsy, I would say, brought back the cottage industry, because now people can make stuff out of their house and they can sell to the entire world. So cottage industry has come back in a big way. And they're like, now the demand for handmade things is skyrocketed because everything is so fake now. So what I'm trying to say is, like, if you have taste, if you are good at if you know what you like and you know it on such a deep level that you can find more of it and you can even create it yourself, which I would say like the best people who do this is someone like Kanye. Okay, he digs deep. You can tell, just like if you're a music fan, you can tell that he has a very, very rich, deep knowledge of music, not just hip hop, like music in general. Okay, and even in interviews, he's like, I listen more to rock music, I listen more to country music than like R&B and hip hop, because rock music is more dynamic. And country music, like the voices go higher and they go lower than you would find in hip hop. And so he gets all of that influence and he brings it back to hip hop. He brings it back to his what is his own culture that he grew up in, that he identifies with. Okay, and if you can do that, you become a great artist. Another example is Grimes. Grimes if you go on her Wikipedia, I haven't been on there in a long while, so maybe it's changed, but I remember going on her Wikipedia page, and it would like, there's usually a section for musical artists where it just talks about like who their influences were. And she has a fucking paragraph that is just straight like names of people she listens to. And it's like shit you've never heard of. Okay. And that's why her music sounds so out there. But she also listens a lot to pop. She has a very pop minded mindset when it comes to making music. So she takes all these weird influences and they get tumbled around in her brain, and it the output is weird music, but it sounds good and it sounds accessible. At least this is like 2012 Grimes. Okay. So in the coming era, I think what's going to happen is that there is going to be another like cottage industry movement, but for everything. Okay. Like the SoundCloud era kind of was that for music. Okay, and the YouTube era is that for movies, but I think entire brands, like people themselves, are going to become an entire brand. Okay, they're going to have like everyone that like will have the capability to be a creative director of some kind. And some people see this as like, I can incorporate AI into this idea, maybe. Okay, I'm not going to say no, possibly, but I think it's going to be more handmade. I think it's going to be so like people are going to want art. There are going to be certain people who are so good at finding art and expressing what they've found through their own lens that there's going to be like a platform for your whole like vision to be realized. Okay. And you're starting to see this with video games too. And it's been like that for a while. Okay. Like with Steam, the indie, I've talked about this before, like all of the indie games that have come out and stuff, that's an individual expression of taste through like video games. Okay. But also it's getting even more democratized with Roblox. And like maybe you're kind of old, maybe you're kind of unk and you don't like understand the significance of Roblox because only little kids play it. But I'm telling you right now, Roblox is going to be even bigger than what it is right now, and is very big. YouTube, this is related. When YouTube first came out in 2006, it got very popular the next year. Okay, it got very, very popular because everyone was talking about it. Like I'm old enough to remember. I was probably like in middle school when YouTube started getting popular. My teachers were talking about it. My classmates were like, dude, like there's this website where you can just see like stuff, and people like who are creative, or they wouldn't say it like that, but like people are making cartoons on there. People are like doing skits on there, like Smoshes on there, you know? And it was big. It was very, very big, but it's not like what it was back then is nothing compared to what it is now. Okay, it's all encompassing. YouTube is just part of culture. It's part of like the substrate of culture. It's like electrical wires for ideas. Okay, like electrical wires across the country carry electricity to everyone. YouTube is that for ideas. Okay. And like that's where it's at right now. It's just so pervasive. It's so like inescapable. It's a utility. It's almost a fucking utility for America. And so I'm saying that's where Roblox is going to be. Right now, Roblox is YouTube 2007. Okay, it's very popular, but only younger people are like, they know what's going on with it. Older people are just unaware. They like, if you've even heard of Roblox, like you're just okay, whatever. Like that's what my little kid plays with, you know. But if you don't know what Roblox is, to give you like the gist, it's YouTube for games. Okay, like it's all user created, and you kind of scroll through it like you would YouTube, and you select what you want to play. And there are the most popular games on there, and there are like you discover stuff on there. Okay, and what like my idea. And like maybe I shouldn't be sharing this, but I think like it's gonna happen regardless. You know, this is a prediction of the future. I think what's gonna happen is that people are gonna have like if you make clothes, if you're a part of a collective, let's say like the only collective that comes to mind right now is Odd Future. Weirdly enough, and Odd Future, what they would do is that they were mainly like a music thing, but they also made fashion, and they also did videos. Okay, so there was they were a collective, but they all had like one vision, and they all just like put out a lot of media. I think if you have a collective in the future, I think you will have like your own little Roblox world, and some brands are already doing this. Okay, big brands have done this where they and there's a really good Izzy's video on this where brands have made worlds in Roblox dedicated to their products. But what I'm saying is that it's going to be more on like the individual level, on like the cottage industry level. That's what I'm predicting, because the way things are right now in our culture, like that shit cannot keep going. People are culturally starved. Okay, like in other countries, let's say Africa. The thing about Africa is that they don't have a lot of material wealth, but culturally they are one of the most like vibrant, the most alive countries in terms of their culture. Okay, just listen to like African music. Okay, it's unlike anything you've ever heard before. I'll say that, especially like rock. There is a genre of rock that I like from Africa. I forgot what it's called. It has like very like their guitars sound really plucky, but like very melodic and harmonic. I'll put it on the screen when I'm editing, and I just remember what it is. And like that kind of like Vampire Weekend stole that whole like flow. Okay, and they took it from Paul Simon. Okay, and like just as a little footnote. But yeah, that's really just all I wanted to say. Like right now, what you should be doing is cultivating good taste, because in the future it's going to be more important. Because when I was growing up, good taste to me was like you played Elder Scrolls, you played Bethesda games, like you watched movies that were like not the most popular. They were like B movies, but they were good. Now, like you need to have good taste in everything, in my opinion, because everything is shitty. Like you could back then get away with like, and I don't want to go in circles. Okay, I'm just gonna say what I said at the start of the video. Back then, things that were given to us were higher quality. You can watch fucking Resident Evil, like those movies. They look like they were made by someone competent, and it's shocking. I was getting my hair cut at the barber the other day, and he put on like one of the first Resident Evil movies, and I was just amazed at how well it was shot. I was just like, what? I don't remember it looking this good when I was little, but that was the case back then. Like even stuff that wasn't good was competently made because the people who were working in that industry were well paid and they had passion. They like cared about what they were making. They didn't think, oh, I'm helping make this shitty movie. Like, I'm not going to do my best. Dude, they fucking cared. Like, you can even see this in the actors. Like, there are some things that Donald Sutherland was in and he acted the shit out of them. Nicolas Cage does that to this day. Like, in whatever he's doing, even if he's doing it for the paycheck, he acts the fuck out of like the role he is playing. And like, when you're a true artist, that's what happens. Okay. But we don't have that anymore because like the big industries treat all creatives like shit. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. If you're going to be a creative, do not go into like a big industry because in the future, it is going to be a lot easier to make your own shit, even more than it is now. It's going to like form a collective of people with like similar tastes to you, develop a brand, have a Roblox world, okay? Learn how to like code a little Roblox game so you can spread your ideas to the younger generation. And yeah, that's like what I wanted to say. I think all these indie venues or avenues, I should say, are gonna converge. I think indie video games, indie music, indie like bespoke like streetwear fashion, all of that, art, visual art, all of that is gonna converge into like some kind of little like black hole. Okay, I don't know what it's gonna be. It might be Roblox. It might be something else. It might be some shit you've never even heard before. It might be, like Tumblr was kind of like that a little bit, but not really. Okay, it's gonna be like Tumblr but 3D. Okay. Anyway, before I start losing my mind on this subject, that's it. Have good taste. It is an act of resistance on the current culture that is destroying us right now. Do not let people enjoy things. Fucking shame them. Shame them for the things they love. Shame them if it's shitty, okay? Put them on something good. Why are you listening to that shit? Listen to this. Pass me the aux. You don't deserve it. Let me put you on something, Chief. That's what my friend does. Not to me. He does it to other people, but he will put me on. He put me on like Young Bra, which is like a little Tracy alter ego or something like that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say today. A little bit of a shorter one, even though it's like close to 40 minutes long. I hope you have a good day. I hope you develop good tastes. I hope you make something soon. That's all. Goodbye.